Hi everyone! Huh? Would have told that we would reach 60 master classes. That's right. We have reached it. We are here with Pedro Oliveira, our masterclass record holder. Hi Pedro, how are you?
Not sure if I'm the record holder, but we are not here for records.
I'm pretty sure you are, but the ones at home can make the counting and see if you are
I
or
am
not
not
the
Ronaldo.
the record holder. So, yeah, today we are talking about a great tool, and I will tell you more about it. But before I talk about it, let's do what I do always. Please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have plenty more high master classes coming up for you. We want to do 60 more or even more than that, and we are here to give you all the greatest insights on OutSystems, front-end, UX, UI, legacy, governance, etc. We are here for it. So let's do it. Uh, Pedro has wrote an article about this. You can check it on the QR code here on the screen or on the description of this video. It is there. It's like a full guide for the presentation that Pedro is about to have. And why we are doing this. Let me just say that Pedro has done this presentation on the latest OutSystems event in Amsterdam on OutSystems 1. And we liked it so much that we want to expand it here to more people. But Pedro is here to talk about it, so I will give the word to him. Pedro, can you lead this presentation on?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we made this presentation. We introduced this tool that we developed at High Interactive. We did it in OutSystems 1. So we think why not extend this introduction, this presentation to more people in the audience, because we really liked what we did and what we are still doing. We are improving this application that we are going to talk about, and yeah, I think it's quite usable. We are using it ourselves, and it's accelerating the development process. So yeah, why not making a masterclass talking about this? So let's go. Let's start with a quick story. Okay, this is a true story. All right, it's not written by AI. So a few time ago, a few months ago, not exactly when, but it happened. So this friend of mine, he's basically a backend developer in OutSystems. He was pushed into making some front ends in the project he was at the time, but he has, let's say, no passion at all for front end. He really loves back end, not front end. But he needed to deliver some UI components and screens and things like that. And with more or less effort, he ended up delivering these components. But it was a really pain for him to do this, and he knows that the work done was not perfect, far from that. So this was hearing this was kind of a light bulb moment, something came up to my head, and I thought at the time, well, here's a nice problem that I believe we can solve this. And if this guy here has this problem, probably more people has the same problem. Because by experience, I know that usually backend developers really hate front ends and run away from front ends every time they could. So this is what we start thinking about. How can we solve this kind of difficulties? So we start this by thinking about the main challenges that exists for us, at least. And for us, the first one is that thought that CSS is very easy to do, until we really need to start doing some CSS. Okay, we know that sometimes UI gets really creative, and when we want to to develop the creativity they produce in Figma, we start to have some challenges here. So CSS is easy until we need to do some real CSS. Then naturally we have the challenge of delivering good user interfaces. And I believe most of us already have that feeling that, hey, what I did is cool, it's well done. I think everybody is going to understand. It's going to be very intuitive to use, until users come up and start messing everything. Okay, I think everybody went through this. Then we have another challenge that we identified, which is nowadays we have a really I mean, developers change companies a lot and change projects a lot. So this is not good from our perspective, because a lot of times the knowledge of those that the developers gather throughout the project is lost when they go away. And not so often. I mean, sometimes experienced developer goes away, and a really junior developer came up, and he doesn't know almost anything because it's still junior. And not just the knowledge went away, but at the same time, who came up didn't bring new knowledge. Okay, so this is a problem. Next, we have documentation. And nobody, not even me, nobody likes to do documentation. It's really hard. It's time consuming. We don't like it. So this is something that we understood that we also need to cover in the solution that I'm going to talk about later. And documentation is also very important, because as you can imagine, someone that is going to see what we developed 1 month later, 1 year later, maybe is not going to be able to understand what we did. So if we don't document what we did, it's going to be harder to maintain the code. So I think it's natural, with everything that we talked before, that it's obvious that we want everybody to do the same things the same way every time. Okay, we don't want to have different developers delivering components from the same project, and those components are completely different from each other, with that components that are not following the same naming conventions, the same coding conventions, the same UI rules. Okay, so we want the same guidelines for everybody. And lastly, I think it's also one of the main challenges that we identify is timeline. And timelining for projects, at least from my experience throughout the years, I know that, let's say that 80% of the time is for development. Then we have something like close to 10%, let's say, or 5% for UX UI, 5% for planning, and maybe sometimes less than 5% for quality assurance, for testing the application, for ensure that everything is working fine and the UI is amazing. So this is a huge problem. So with all these challenges that we covered, we entered the finding the solution phase. So for this, we thought really hard about the challenges and how can we solve these challenges that we talk about. So we are going to cover like 5 or 6 points of interest here. Okay, at least these are the main points that we thought about. So what we want to achieve here with this tool that we are talking today, we really want to transform the delivery process we want to make it more faster and more consistent, okay? Meaning that we don't need to make the deliver to production slower, or we don't want to redo things. So what we need here is, okay, we are introducing a new application in the process, a new tool in the process, but this doesn't mean that it's going to make it slower. Okay, by the contrary, we are going to deliver faster and better. So we want naturally to have better UI components or patterns, meaning that every pattern will follow the same guidelines. Every pattern it's going to follow the same UI with no mistakes. Every pattern is going to have good documentation, all of that. Then we want to stop wasting time redoing the same tasks or similar tasks over and over and over again, not just in the same project, but throughout different projects. I mean, I've done the same components in different projects so many times throughout the years that I lost count. Okay, there are some components that I think I do them the same way in every project. So this knowledge is precious, and it's time consuming if we need to do this every time. So this is something that we want to achieve. We don't need to redo everything in every project, for every project. So naturally, we want to reuse this knowledge, and we want to keep this knowledge. And also, we want to build on top of this knowledge. Okay, if something is wrong, we don't want to keep the knowledge because it's wrong. We want to correct what we already learned in the past, and we want to build on top of it. Then, naturally, we want everybody to be able and follow the same guidelines, the same UI practices, everything. And we have a lot of knowledge on this field. And when someone new came to the team, it's not easy to explain everything because it's years and years and years of experience that we have. So if we have something that already has all this knowledge, it's better. So finally, what we want to achieve, the last point here, is accessibility, that it's increasingly, it's something that it's more and more a need to all applications to follow. For example, here in Europe, it's something that is mandatory if projects want to be funded by the European Union, for example. So if an application fails the accessibility testing, the funding is cut. So it's naturally that this is quite important. So by the end, we got to the conclusion that, well, so nowadays everybody's talking about AI and agentic and all of that. And it's okay. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So let's use this wave and let's build on top of this. So we end up creating an AI agent that it's built on a tool. and he knows all the components from OutSystems UI. He knows the platform OutSystems. He knows about accessibility. He knows about the best guidelines. All right. He basically, we gave him the experience that we gathered throughout the years. Right. So, and we are using modern technology to make components faster to be implemented in OutSystems, in the OutSystems platform. So this was basically what we get to. So let's talk a little bit about this tool that we are talking here. So as I said, we built a tool. We call it OutSystems Component Studio. And it's basically, it works online in a browser, right? For now, we are using OpenAI codecs for AI agent. And entering the main feature here, something that we understood before that it's quite important is we need to store our previous work. So when we get to the application, we have a dashboard with all the components that were previously generated. We can cycle through them, we can review them, we can reuse them, or anything else. So then, also very important, we have a chat with, a way to chat with the AI agent. For example, if I want to request a new component, I can have a chat with the agent before the agent starts developing something. So what I can do is I ask for a component. And I ask for a component, and then the agent, if he thinks that the information that I'm giving is not enough, he asks me some important questions for me to clarify. So the component that is going to be generated, it's more well produced in terms of features and things like that. So we can use this chat to iterate before we really start doing things. Then when the component is generated, we have this cool feature where we can interact live with the component. Okay, if, for example, here in this picture, you see an OTP code, which is a component that I do a lot of times. So we can click the input, we can type a number, we can delete, whatever. This is cool. So then we enter the more technical side of the tool, where here you can see that, and since this is producing components for OutSystems, it's going to give us a detailed guide path for us to implement the components in OutSystems, right? So here you can see that we have a detailed view of not just the elements tree that is going to be generated in OutSystems, but also the widgets tree, all right? So we can see not just what containers and all of that the component has, but also we can see in detail the input parameters, the client actions, events, and all of that, okay? It's basically a step-by-step guide for implementation in the OutSystems platform. So this is basically the view of this guided path, all right? It's going from the first step, which is implementing the structure. Then we want to implement client actions if they exist. And we also have this cool feature that show us the detailed content of the client action, if it has an assign, if it's triggered an event, those kind of things. Then again, another important thing that remember that I said that, for example, the backend developers really hate CSS. So we give all the CSS they need for the components. And because the agent knows OutSystems UI, he knows all the utility classes that OutSystems UI has for colors, for space between elements, all of that. So when it generates CSS, it's going to generate CSS reusing the classes from OutSystems UI, but also it's going to follow the best practices for CSS. For example, the naming convention that we use, and we believe it's the best one, which is BEM. Okay, so this is just an example. Right, so then as for CSS, we also have a detailed view for all the JavaScript when exists. So we have this detailed view of all the JavaScript that we need to implement in OutSystems, all right? Not just the JavaScript that we need for the onReady action, but also sometimes we have timers that we need to destroy when the component goes away from the screen. So we also have the JavaScript that we need to apply on the onDestroy event of the block. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have the hardcore modes that we call hardcore modes, but everybody recognizes as dark modes. Okay, every developer loves this feature. All right, so this is just a quick presentation on the tool. A lot more can be said about this. We have a huge roadmap ahead of us. So if you are interested on knowing more or schedule a demo, or even if you would like to receive an early access for this tool, it's not online yet. We are only use it internally. But if you're interested on something like this, feel free to scan the QR code. It's just a couple of questions that we have there. And we for sure talk to you to know more about what you really want to learn. Thank you.
For sure. And thank you, Pedro, for this great presentation. And be sure to really check the QR code that Pedro has shown. And I will complement it by saying that you also have it on the description of this video. You can access it there, answer the questions, and get your early access. And yeah, with that said, Pedro, thanks for the presentation, and thanks to the ones that who stood by till the end for this great presentation and got the best from this tool, even though it was just like a brief introduction to it. And yeah, we are coming in hot with another high masterclass next month. I hope you all stay for that and stay tuned for what's coming up here at High Interactive's YouTube channel. And yeah, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you have any type of question, please drop it on the comment section of this video. Me, Pedro, or anyone at High Interactive, we will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. And yeah, with that said, thank you all, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you all.